If you've ever opened Ableton and thought, where do I even start? Don't worry. By the end of this short video, you're going to fully understand how Ableton works and how simple it actually is once it all clicks. You'll know the layout and the difference between audio and MIDI, the difference between arrangement view and session view, and how to actually pull in professional quality sounds from Splice. And here's the best part, this video only takes around 10 minutes long, so you're going to go from confused to confident today without needing expensive gear or any production background. All you need right now is a laptop that can run Ableton Live 11 or 12. It can be any laptop, doesn't have to be a Mac. You need a pair of headphones, and even at this point your AirPods are fine, and you need the Splice app. So if your dream is to finally start making some real house tracks instead of watching other people do it, this is where it all begins. So let's dive in. Alright, so when you first open Ableton, it can look a little bit intimidating, but it's actually one of the most easiest workflows and easiest doors to get your head around once you've got your head around it and you know the core layout. So at the top you've got this transport bar. This is where you can have the play button, the stop button and the record button, and you can control the tempo or the BPM over here. Down here is your browser, and this is where you'll find all your sounds, your instruments, your effects. This is where that lives. Think of it like a personal studio toolbox. Everything you'll ever use is right there. Now, if we take a quick tour of everything else, this is the session view. And these are where your tracks live, okay? So I've got mine automatically set up to have a drums, bass, synths and vocals. And each one of these boxes underneath your tracks, this is where you can hold an audio sample, you can write a MIDI track in, or you can hold instruments in there as well. And at the bottom of Ableton, down here, this is your device view where you'll see your synths, your effects, and your automation controls. Once you understand those areas, the browser over here, the tracks here, the device view, you've basically unlocked the whole program, and that is Ableton in its simplest form. Now we're going to talk about arrangement view and session view. You might have accidentally seen me on this view before, and that's because I accidentally pressed the tab button, okay, which takes us to arrangement view. But if I press the tab button again, it takes us back to session view, and I'm going to tell you about the differences in a moment. Arrangement view is your timeline. This is where you build your tracks from start to finish. You'll see your sounds laid out in a linear way, just like any traditional DAW, like Logic if you've used that before. Session view is more performance based. It's all about loops and clips. You can experiment, trigger ideas and jam live. A good way to think about it is that session view is ideas, loops, jamming, and then arrangement view is structure, full song, ready to export. You can also actually switch between the views with the little toggle button up here. So if I click that, that's session view, and if I click that, that's arrangement view, or just the tab button on your keyboard. Super simple. Now I'm going to talk to you about audio versus MIDI. Let's clear something up that confuses a lot of beginners on audio versus MIDI. Audio is a recorded sound, so it's like a vocal, a drum loop, a sample, whereas MIDI is a set of instructions. It tells your virtual instruments what notes to play, when and how to play them. So if you drag a drum loop from Splice, that's an audio. If you're playing a synth with your keyboard, that's a MIDI. Both are absolutely essential when making music, but you're going to use them differently depending on your workflow. And by the way, if you're loving this breakdown and you're serious about learning how to produce banging music that gets signed to real labels, I do run a one-on-one mentoring program where I personally guide you from beginner to a signed artist guaranteed. Just click the link below the description to book in a free call, and we'll see if you're a good fit for the academy and for my mentorship. But let's get back to it. Let's talk about Splice. Splice is your best friend for finding professional samples. So if we head over to splice.com, I want you to basically create a Splice account. So if you click try now, you can try Splice for $4.99 a month, and you put in your email and password. I already have a Splice account obviously, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to, for the purpose of this, pretend I'm creating one just to show you how much it is. So you can change plan. We've selected the creator plan, which is 200 credits per month. You can actually start off on the 100 credits per month plan and upgrade. The creator plan is good because it's got unlimited access to premium instrument presets, and you can filter undiscovered sounds and stuff like that. But the Sounds Plus plan, I think I'm still on the Sounds Plus plan, but all of my credits have rolled over, because all your credits roll over. So if you don't use 100 in the month, the 100 will roll over to the next month. So I've got thousands because there was a time that I stopped producing, but it's kept paying for Splice. So the Sounds Plus version is absolutely fine, and you save yourself like $8 or whatever. But if you want to try that one, there's a special offer. But whatever you do, sign up for Splice and then get logged in. Once you've got logged in, it's going to ask you somewhere to download the Splice desktop app. That's what you want. So then you can go down here and then open up your Splice desktop app, and then we can start dragging in samples from Splice into Ableton. So get signed up to Splice, get logged in, use the free trial. You can see I've got so many credits where they just roll over every month, which is pretty cool. And then we can start finding some sounds. And I just want to make it clear that Splice is going to be your best friend with finding professional samples, okay? Inside Ableton, you can drag and drop loops directly from Splice into your project. It is that easy. And I do recommend starting with simple drum loops, bass lines and vocal chops in your genre. So anything under that electronic dance music umbrella, you can filter it to find your genre and then drop those into Ableton. And before we start doing that, I just want to go over a few useful shortcuts while we're here as well in Ableton. If you click Command T on your keyboard, it's going to open up a new audio track. Now if you click Command Shift and T, it's going to open up a new MIDI track. If you click Command S, it's going to save that project, and then you can save it where you want, and I recommend doing that as often as possible. And then what I would also do, once you start dropping samples in here, click Collect All and Save, so it collects all the samples into its own Ableton project, and then you won't lose the samples. So I've had clients where they open up a project and then all the samples are missing, and it's because they didn't collect all and save. Ableton won't save the samples you drop in unless you click Collect All and Save. So it's the most important thing to do. So make sure you save it that way as well. You can also press the spacebar to play your track that you've made and spacebar to stop, and then the backspace button to delete stuff. So if I click on this track that I've just inserted, press backspace, it deletes it. If I click on this one, backspace, it deletes it. Those are the core shortcuts that you're going to need to use straight away, and then we get on to other more advanced ones later in the program. Now let's dive deeper into loading in clips so we can start building some ideas fast. In session view, each slot can hold one clip. So if we drag a drum loop into one slot and a bass line into another and maybe a chop vocal on top, you can trigger them all one by one or all together to test ideas. So let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to open up Splice. I'm going to pick a genre. So you can pick any genre that you're focusing in. I'm going to just pick tech house for now. And then I'm going to filter this by loops because I just want to sort of make it as simple as possible for now. And then we get on to more advanced creating your track from scratch in the later lessons. And then I'm going to just select drum loops. I'm going to listen to these. I want a fuller drum loop than that. So I'm just going to... That's quite a good drum loop with a kick. So then what I can do is press this little plus button, which downloads that sample and takes a credit away from our overall credits. So then I can drop that into Ableton. Make sure you just drop it in where it says drop files and devices here, and it's going to open a new track for you. I've started a new track, so I'm actually going to highlight these tracks and just backspace and delete them and just start fresh so you can follow along with me. And then I'm going to press Command and R. And what that does, that gives us the opportunity to rename this. And I'm going to keep tidy as I'm building out my track. So I'm going to call this drum loop. And put drums. And now I can hear this in my Ableton, okay? So I'm going to go back to Splice and do the same with a bass. So I just take off the drums. Then I'm going to go to instruments and find bass. I can't actually find it there, so I'm just going to search bass. Right, and then I'm going to select loops. At this point, we haven't chosen a key, so it can be any key. But what I do want to do is select genres and select house. Bit garagey, like it. Quite like that. Let's go with that. That's a G minor. So I'm going to remember that. I'm going to drag that in. Rename bass G minor. Because it's a musical element, I want to now sort of like rename it and keep the keys, because obviously when we start bringing on vocals or synths or anything like that, now we want to be writing in G minor, okay? And what we can do in session view is if we find another bass, I'm actually going to take this one because this is another G minor. And I'm going to put it below. So I'm not going to put it on a new track because it's another bass sound. We're not going to want both of those bass sounds, but we might want to experiment between the two bass sounds and see what sounds better together. So if I just rename that and call it bass again, I can then rename the bass sounds, so I can then experiment between those two bass sounds, because it might be two basses that I really like and I'm trying to decide between. This is where session view comes in handy. So if I go back to Splice very quickly, I just want some vocals. Now I'm going to take off bass, I'm going to get rid of that there. I'm going to go to instruments, vocals, and then I'm also going to filter it by key because we're writing in G minor now. And it always needs to be in the same key. Why we gotta be in such a rush? There's no time. Now this you can't stop me now. No. Is that different side? Must get you these get these give it up get you crying on must get. Right, so I'm gonna do a couple of options. I'm gonna download this one and the top one. And I'm just going to put them under a new track, like so. And I'm going to rename that vocals. Actually, I'll rename that G minor. Rename that vocals. Cool. I'm going to actually right click this and actually change the colour of it to purple. And then right click and click assign track color to clips, and then I'm gonna right click this and put this as blue, and then right click this as assign track to clips. I am really OCD when it comes to my projects, and I like my drums in red, my bass in blue, my vocals in purple. I don't know why. You can have yours whatever you like. That's just visually better for me, so I can see what I've got in front of me. So now I've got some vocals, a bass and some drums. So if I click this button here, it's played the drums, the bass and the vocals all on that scene there. And we call this a scene, right? Because it's that scene. If I play this scene, it's gonna play just this scene. I can play these drums as well. So it plays these drums, this bass and these vocals. And then I might want to jam and experiment between these vocals and these vocals, so I can click play here. And then it will automatically stop playing the other vocals in that track. Same with the bass, I could go back to this bass. Or go back to this bass. I think I prefer the second bass, and this is where session view becomes really good because you can just jam between the two, right? So if I like those drums, that bass and those vocals all together, which I did quite like all of that together, what I could do is go on to the third scene, right click and then click on capture insert scene, and it's going to take those 3 elements that we ended up liking together and put it in one scene. So now we can easily press scene 4 and it's going to play them all together. Actually sounds quite banging. Right, but obviously we're just dropping in loops right now, so it's very easy work at this stage, but I just want to get your head around Ableton. Then once you've come up with an idea that you quite like, we want to get this into arrangement view, okay, to start arranging this. So what we can do is press play, press tab, and then you can just simply press record, and it's going to record it into arrangement view. And that's how quick we can start getting a track together. Ableton will just record your live performance into arrangement view, and then you can refine it into a full track. And this is how the pros write music fast, jam fast, and then structure later, okay? Once it's all grayed out like this, you just want to press that little red button there to get it to arrangement view, and then you can start messing around with it and cropping bits and whatnot, and making sure it's in time, which we'll come on to in other lessons. But for now, this is your first Ableton deep dive, and hopefully now you realise how simple and powerful it really is once you understand the basics. So your homework today is to download and install Ableton Live 11 or 12, or a more advanced version if they've brought it out by the time you're watching this video. Set up Splice and find 3 loops, drums, bass and vocals. Load them into both session view and arrangement view to start practice switching between the both. Save your project, even if it's just a few loops. Collect all and save live set as, and make sure you put it in a good place that you can find it. By the end of this, you're going to be set up, confident, navigating Ableton, and ready to start building your first track in the next lesson. If this helps you, please click like and subscribe, and drop a comment telling me what you're struggling with and how I can help. I will reply to every single one. And if you're ready to actually go all in and start making tracks that get signed, don't forget the link is below to book in a one-to-one mentoring call with us right now. You've got this. Let's start making some bangers.